Good afternoon, folks. Robert Chappell here, Executive Editor, Madison365, with your daily updates for Monday, January 17th, Martin Luther King Day. Hope you're having a good one. Wanted to hop on here. It's supposed to be a day off, but not really a day off. It's supposed to be a day on, remember that? But it's supposed to be not work today. But the COVID data was just so crazy today. I thought I had to hop on here and kind of explain it to you a little bit so you can understand it. Now, if you just looked at the top line numbers that we normally look at, you would do what I did when you saw them and say, holy cow, these numbers are crazy. Today, we are seeing 35,746 new cases reported, which puts the 7-day average at 17,916. Now, why is that? On Friday, the State Department of Health Services announced that they were going to dispense with this data staging area, right? What they've done in the past is the counties report their data to the state. It goes into this pot of data on their servers or whatever. And then as this DHS staff sort of manually confirm those cases and upload the data into the state system, which is then published. Now, but what they said on Friday, after being kind of pushed by some media outlets, they decided to just get rid of that staging area. All positive tests will get automatically published. And as a result, the data is going to look really elevated for a couple of days. I suspect that it might be only one day, actually. It might just be today, as it's just a massive data dump, right? All this backlog data, all this data, that these positive tests that have been awaiting confirmation are just going to get published today all at once. So we're basically getting might be 3 or 4 days worth of positive tests all reported or all confirmed on one day. So today you have 35,756 new cases, which then drives the 7-day average up a lot bit. It was like 10,000 something on Friday. Today it's almost 18,000 on a 7-day average basis. That's a lot. So what you want to look at is some other data. You look at the percentage of positive tests, which remains very bad. Okay, 27.8 today. But you look back, and as a result of this data catch up, look back like the week of the 7th, 8th, 9th, in that area, like the second week of January, they're now saying that those weeks, that whole week basically, the week of like the 9th and 10th, I'm sorry, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. So like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday of that week, the positive test rate was over 30%. And has basically been coming down since then. So again, we always like to look at trends. We don't like to look at one number in isolation. I think we can safely say in isolation, 27.8%, in isolation or not, no matter what the context, 27.8% positive test rate is awful, catastrophically bad in terms of disease spread. Right? There's no situation in which that is a good news number. The trend is downward, peaking on the 9th at 30.5%. Now we're down to 27.8. The other thing I'll mention is that now that, and this will get a little bit less confusing in the coming weeks, just because of the new way they're doing the data. But it looks as if since about the 11th, since even going all the way back to the 5th, the general trend in new cases that actually, let me say this a different way. The number of positive tests in a single day, which is to say, when your nose is swabbed and your test goes to the lab, in the past, you get that result back the next day or 2 days later, and then it takes like 3 more days to get into the state data. Whereas now they're just going to report it as soon as it comes in. Okay. So as a result, there's always been this sort of lag between there's been a disparity between the new confirmed cases versus the data that the cases are actually attributed or actually confirmed, or actually run, right? So looking at it from the lens of when the test was actually run, when somebody got a Q-tip in their nose and that sample was sent to a lab. The peak was actually January 5th, with 18,753 positive tests that day and 42,000 negative tests. And since then, it's been kind of up and down. On the 6th, it's 17,000 something. On the 7th, which is a Friday, we had just under 17,000. Then on the 8th, which is a Saturday, so there's not as much testing happening, it's 11,774. And then the 9th, which is a Sunday, 8,900. And then the 10th, back up to 14,000, 15,000 on the 11th, 16,000 on the 12th. But then back down to 14,000 on the 13th. And 13,688 on the 14th. So again, you're going a little up and down, but generally speaking, that trend starting on the 5th is actually downward a little, not a lot, but a little bit. That's why I'm saying that even though we're throwing 35,000 new cases, almost 36,000 new cases into the data today, that's just basically all that 36,000 means is our total number of cases that we've ever had went up by 36,000 today because they changed the way they're doing the data. But overall, in terms of the number of actual positive tests that are run on any given day, that number is actually coming down slightly over the past week and a half. Almost 2 weeks now. I mean, if we peaked on the 5th, it is now the 17th. So, cautious optimism. There's more reason for optimism. Hospitalizations are also down. Still too high. These numbers are bad news. Okay, there's no way around that. 2,247 people currently hospitalized. That's 28 more than yesterday. Okay, but that's 12 people fewer than a week ago. So even though for today it's up slightly, it's still lower than it was a week ago, and it's lower than where the peak was. I want to say about 10 days ago. It was about 2,278. On the other hand, the ICU population is actually way down. It's down even 32 from yesterday. It's now 452, which is still too many. We still have 79 ICU beds available, not nearly enough in the entire state. 79 beds for the entire state. That's not enough. But a couple weeks ago, that was 39. Right? So hospitalizations are also improving. They're bad, very bad, but improving. Deaths have leveled off, which is also good news. We're still at 24 deaths per day in the past 7 days, which is a lot. I honestly believed that would be higher by now, the way that the cases have been going up. But they haven't, and that's really good. I'm genuinely relieved that they haven't gone up. I still think they might. I think they will. You know, we're really looking end of January, beginning of February before we see the current surge in cases translate into surge in deaths. We won't see that data until early February. But the way it's looking right now, I'm hopefully optimistic that we're not going to get to that 60 or 70 deaths per day that you might expect given the number of cases we have. Maybe it'll peak at like 30, which is, again, bad, but not as bad as I feared. Okay, we'll have to kind of cross our fingers and wait and see on that. So that's. I hope that is helpful. I hope that explanation makes sense to why we're seeing 36,000 new cases today, and that's actually not that bad. With that, I'm going to wrap up the COVID part of the show. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat or in the comments. I'm happy to address those. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about some other local news. I've got a very, very big story that I put up this morning. It's not it's not like a big breaking story, but it's like literally a big story, like 4,000 words that I want to talk about. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about Log to Lose from the UW Surgery Department. It's supporting the update today. Do you want to have more energy? I do. Do you want to feel stronger? The University of Wisconsin is enrolling individuals for an 18-month research program focused on helping people build habits for a healthier lifestyle. Everyone who participates will receive a well-researched weight management program led by registered dietitians. Go to log2lose.com for more information. And we're going to actually be posting an article about this tomorrow. So watch for that if you're interested in losing a few pounds, getting healthier for free through the University of Wisconsin Department of Surgery. All right, we appreciate their support. Now, I want to mention, I talked a little bit last week about the series that we're doing called Lasting Impacts, that is examining the long-term, potentially permanent changes to certain systems and institutions as a result of the pandemic. And today we have a story up about the nonprofit sector. This is Jordan Matoyer, who works in the education department at Boys and Girls Club, handing out masks, which is something Boys and Girls Clubs would never have done ever, except that there's a pandemic. So that's one of the things that I found, is that just a lot of nonprofits just did different things than they normally would do. I'm not going to talk through all of it. It's really long. It's already 5:45, so I don't want to keep you. But basically, we're seeing significant changes. And first of all, the focus on diversity and equity in the nonprofit sector, the desire to support those kind of causes, and intentional means of doing so, increases in Black-led philanthropy. We're also seeing changes in the funding structures and the processes by which nonprofits get funded. Right, no more 15-page applications, no more 15-page reports. It's at least one case of a foundation up in Green Bay. All the applications are now basically down to one page, and when you're done with your grant, instead of writing a big long report, you just have a conversation on the phone. And there's just a sharp increase in collaboration among nonprofits, and those are the kind of the highlights. And then the other thing is that the nonprofit world is also nonprofit businesses are also businesses, right? So they end up having the same challenges as in the workforce side of things as other businesses. So there's some interesting stuff about that in there as well. That story is up on the front page right now at Madison365.org. Also on the site today, we have a profile of April Kagea, who is I don't know why my slideshow's being so weird. April is running for county board, unopposed, on a newly formed district on the west side of Madison. So even though she's running unopposed, it's still important that folks in that neighborhood understand who their new county board supervisor is going to be. So read that, if you especially live on that side of town. But if you don't, I say this all the time: local government has more impact on your life than the president does. So be aware and be familiar with your local elected officials. And April Kagea is going to be one of those very soon. Also today in sports, Fort Madison signs another goal-scoring threat named Roger Smith. He dominated. He went the JUCO route, the junior college route. He's from Jamaica. Played his youth in for the Harbortown Boys in Jamaica, and came to the United States to play for Northern Oklahoma Community College, where he was absolutely dominant. He scored 21 goals in 18 games. Anytime you're averaging more than one goal a game, that's like crazy good. He went on to the University of Tampa, and then he spent his 2021 season, his first professional season, with Sporting Kansas City 2 in the USL Championship in the second division. Scored 5 goals for them, and is now signed for Fort Madison to add a scoring threat for us, which is exciting. So that's the news for today. Hope you have a wonderful evening. There's a lot of stuff going on still. The city and county Martin Luther King Day celebration will get underway here in about 15 minutes. Our reporter Angelica is going to be watching that and reporting on that for tomorrow. And WPR still has some programming this evening on Martin Luther King Day programming. So give that a listen as well. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
This is 365 Media.